I love bringing Alyssa back to talk again about so many things, but around body acceptance, loving our bodies, intuitive eating, which is such a cool idea that we
Yeah.
let our bodies tell us when and what to eat.
Yeah. Imagine
And
that.
it's and then just making and taking up space as women on the planet.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the whole body image thing we could speak to for days, right? But some of the
Yeah.
statistics, 90% of women in the world are having body image issues.
That's
Like we
soul
got
crushing.
we got some work to do, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it really does come back to for one thing, we are not our bodies. That's not who we are. Like this is this fleshy suit that we donned when we
Yes.
came to the planet, and it changes constantly. Like you were a baby, then you were a kid, then you were a teen. Like so, of course, our bodies change constantly, and
Yeah.
learning
But
to not only accept it but love it and keep showing up because that's not the body is not why we're here. The body gives us the means to do our work, to do our purpose work, to show up and shine our light, but
yeah,
it's not who we are.
she was the perfect discussion for Women's Equity Month,
Yes.
right?
Yes, indeed. The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DeMano. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. Today we are bringing back our friend Alyssa Booth. She's a licensed professional counselor and empowered body coach. She's the owner of the Nourished Mind Counseling and Wellness, a virtual private practice that serves the state of Texas. And Alyssa's approach goes beyond traditional therapy as she's committed to helping women across the world. She combines her expertise with her professional and personal experience to bring empowered body coaching to women struggling with body insecurity, food obsessions, anxiety, people pleasing, all the stuff, so they can experience freedom with mind, food, and body. Alyssa's mission is for you to step into your authentic self and live in line with your values, your time, and your energy without all the diet culture BS, which stands for bullshit, and unrealistic standards placed on women. Alyssa empowers you to return back to yourself for inner healing, connection, and confidence so that you can live a more present and fulfilled life. So welcome back, Alyssa. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me back.
Yeah, we had so much to talk about the last time. We thought we for sure have to have Alyssa back. And Marcy and I are doing things a little bit different with the podcast now. We've decided to start incorporating some themes. And this month is Women's Equity Month. So we thought it perfect for Alyssa to come back and have these conversations today. I think we're going to try to focus a little bit on body image, which is a giant topic. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Alyssa?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite topics is body image because it really impacts everybody, right? How we see
Yes.
ourselves, our perceptions, our thoughts, our beliefs about not only our bodies, but other people's bodies too. And that really shows up in, how we present ourselves, our confidence, and the influences, from our childhood to our society. I mean, and everywhere in between, right? I mean, when you say body image, when you say influences, I mean, we can kind of probably speak on each specific one for hours and hours. And so I think it is so important to empower women to feel good in their bodies and empower young girls to feel good in their bodies and recognize that, hey, my body's going to change and that's okay. That's a normal part of growing up. That's a normal part of life. Life is going to ebb and flow. But how do I return back to myself and trust myself and feel good in and about my body, and treat myself well? I think that so many women are just having this inner battle with their bodies consistently, how they're
I
supposed to
was
look.
in preparing for this discussion with you, I was looking up some statistics, and this blew me away a little bit, but approximately 91% of women in the world, this is a world study, are unhappy with their bodies and resort to dieting to achieve their ideal body shape. Unfortunately, only 5% of women naturally possess the body type that's often portrayed. 91%. Like, I think we got a problem.
A big problem.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that society loves that that's the problem, because the beauty
Yes.
industry is $90 billion per year. So if we started loving ourselves, if we started taking care of ourselves, it would, I mean, imagine what would happen to, I mean, I want to say our economy, but that's a whole
Probably
other topic for
a
a
big
whole
part
other.
of it.
Yeah,
A
but I
big part of
mean,
it.
imagine if we started loving ourselves and, no longer felt the need to go on diet after diet after diet, or, now it's like, these young girls is 18 to 24. I think that's like 16%. I don't know. I read the statistics. Don't quote me on that because it was a while back, but are already getting Botox and filler and, plastic surgeries. And I mean, and I'm always, body autonomy. You do you do what you feel like. But, at what point do we say, okay, like these standards are an issue, we can't all look like the Kardashians. And not only that, but not everybody has access to money, right? I mean, if you think about, I mean, I guess I don't necessarily know exactly how much Botox costs, but I know it's not cheap, and so what happens to those people that can't afford it? And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This idea that we have to, that starts so young, which is just heartbreaking, but I remember it, that we have to meet this standard, that we have to look this certain way, and then to spend a lifetime fighting what's natural to us, fighting our own bodies that are doing all the stuff for us to try to meet this standard, to try to look like something else, whether it is,
The
a
Barbie
physical
doll.
thing, or the snatch waist, or, and when we were younger, it was smaller, and now, it's okay, now people are actually trying to make their butts bigger, and it's like, rather than just like being able to be happy with what we've got, to take care of ourselves, to feed ourselves well, to exercise, to be strong, to be, and as you get older, it starts to shift what matters. When you start to feel like you can't do the thing you want to do, then it's more like, okay, well, let me let that old idea go.
Yeah.
But
But it's
yes,
constant, right?
it's
It's constant.
constant.
Yeah, it never leaves your mind. Like Marcy was saying, like we've been around probably twice as long as Alyssa, but this has been going on since you were, well, I would say a teenager.
Forever,
Yeah,
forever, right?
but I think the difference now, even with kids that are preteen, the younger kids, is that of course they're getting it from media, they're getting it from the television, they're getting it from the magazines. Well, I don't know if anybody's reading magazine anymore, but right, that's how we
Instagram,
first.
TikTok, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading something which was interesting, that they were talking about people that were in Fiji. And in Fiji, like they didn't have televisions and like
Mm-hmm.
probably 10, 15 years ago, right? But they were doing a study on these young women, and when they started watching television. And as soon as they started watching television, like 12% of them basically started throwing up, and 30% of them were having full on issues, with their
Mhm.
bodies.
Oh,
Just
wow.
with that one introduction of media, which was television, right?
Ooh, send me
That's
that study. That's interesting.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah. And
So what do we do? Alyssa, you're the expert. Like what do we do? What do Marcy and I do as, older women? We've got different issues, but I'm especially, sad about the younger generations and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think, so your statistic of the 91% of women, but then the other statistic just focusing on teen girls is 80%. So, I mean, still
Mhm.
an abnormally large, way too many kids, feeling
Mhm.
insecure
yeah,
about their bodies. And I think it's hard because you can only control so much at home as a parent, but I think it really starts with conversations. How you talk about food, how you talk about your body, how you talk about other people's bodies. And ideally, it wouldn't really be a conversation, but I think because there's so much influence out there, we kind of have to have
right,
conversations about, the expectation of your body. So if we're starting off, I guess, adolescence, puberty, I think that's kind of like peak time that people start to compare
yeah,
themselves, although it can happen younger. Speaking to our kids and saying, hey, like your body is going to change and look different, not only physically, not just the puberty things, like you're going to get boobs and you're going to start your period and like all of those kinds of things, but kids are gaining on average, which is the normal average, up to like 40 pounds, 40 plus pounds in that pubescent period.
yeah,
And I think that that's a big I mean, that's like too
yeah,
big a number, but like that's a big difference in your body type over the course of just a few years.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so
Or me when
normalizing.
I was pregnant in 9 months. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
I mean, and and
Right.
and I would even say in
Yeah.
each phase of life too. So
Yeah.
there's that. I was actually having a conversation with someone the other day. I was on the dance team in high school, and so I was very, very physically active with that.
Mhm.
And when I went to college, I obviously wasn't dancing in college and, was doing the college thing where you eat and go out and drink and party. I kind of had a little crazy
Yeah.
phase there for for a while,
We
built
all
some
had
character.
it. We
Been
all
there,
Um,
had
been there.
but and just naturally because my body was changing because I was growing into an adult woman, I wasn't gonna look like a teenager
Yeah.
anymore. And there's all this, rhetoric about the freshman 15 and oh my gosh, and you don't want to gain that. And so when I gained the freshman 20, I was like, oh my gosh,
Me
like I
too. Me
believe
too.
it, like it was a very shocking experience. And had someone told me, hey, like this is normal because when you stop this amount of activity, and
Mhm.
as you get older, your metabolism is different, your body's going to change, you're going to grow into an adult woman, which is normal and natural. That would have made me feel better versus me freaking out about the
Mhm.
weight that I gained in college. And again, I mean, we look at kind of these milestones, and I know not everybody is, becomes a parent, but when you have kids, the age you are when you have kids. I know we were talking about the ages of my kids. I had my first when I was 22. I had my second when I was 32. And
Mhm.
so, my body at 22 is a lot different than my body at 32,
Yes. Yeah.
and it changed differently too. And even postpartum, my experiences were totally different when it came to, holding on to weight versus releasing weight after my
Yes.
pregnancies. And so I think there's just this hyper focus on bouncing back and weight loss and getting back to pre-pregnancy weight and how you were in your 20s and
Yeah.
fitting into your high school jeans or
Yes.
like all of
If I
Yeah.
these.
have to hear that one more time,
Yeah.
I swear to God, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a good thing, right? Like we're supposed to
Yeah.
wear our high school clothes. Like whose idea was that anyway?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
Who came up with this idea? We got to find them. And then, of course, as we age, through the stages of life, when we kind of get into that middle age spot, and we're getting gray hair and we're getting some age spots. And, again, our metabolism is different. Then we go through premenopause, then we go through full blown menopause. Then we're, I mean,
Yeah.
our, as women specifically, our bodies are going to be changing
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So, and men's bodies change too, but I feel like women's bodies, I mean, we're in this constant state of like going through these big changes in our lives when it comes to
Well,
our
and
bodies.
and just hormones, right?
Yes,
In general,
hormones.
you think about hormones as a teen, hormones on and off through pregnancy, through
Right.
breastfeeding, through and then perimenopause hormones, and then the hormone. I mean, that's insane. I mean, guys have hormones, lots of hormones, lots of testosterone, and then they kind of don't. Right? So they
Yeah.
kind of have these two things that kind of happen to them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, there's just, I think those things need to be discussed with our
Yeah.
kids as
Mhm.
well, our young girls, of like,
Yeah.
obviously talking about puberty, but like, hey, this isn't the only time your body's going to change. This isn't the
Yeah.
only time you're going
Exactly.
to notice weight gain shifts, especially in pregnancy, your hips getting bigger and wider, and they don't just magically go back down. They stay that way. I think even just talking about highlighting things that are commonly said in diet culture, like the mom pouch or mom pooch or whatever, and bounce back culture. And so almost empowering your kids appropriately at appropriate times, right? To say, hey, like these are some messages that you might be hearing, and these are some ways that you can combat those messages and refocus and reshift your mindset to this is natural. Like my body's going to be different. My body is a good body. My body
Mhm. Yeah.
wants to work for me. My
Mhm.
body is here to take care of me, and
Right.
I can take care of my body too. And I don't have to be constantly battling these natural changes that my body's going to inevitably go through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think not at so for sure this focus on because you got to learn these things younger so that you don't spend the rest of your life unlearning the crap that you learned that
Right.
isn't serving you. But also as we age, and I'm 58 now and I'm on the kind of on the other side of menopause, although I still have hot flashes and all that stuff. But when I start to see some women coming out and amazing women like Jamie Lee Curtis or something showing their actual body and letting their hair grow gray and doing that stuff and just that idea of normalizing aging so that we don't have to like it's not a bad thing to age. We can age. What we want to do is age in a way that keeps us active and keeps us doing the things we love and feeling good and but not necessarily looking a certain way. And sometimes in social media, you'll see someone pull out someone who doesn't really look their age, who's still meeting that standard and say, see, aging is great. And that's not the message either. Like that's fine, that's them, and that's wonderful. But the message is, let's show me someone who doesn't meet any of those standards, but is doing what they love and is healthy and is feeling good. Like that can be our goal.
Yeah.
It's not just saying, okay, now you're old, but or older or whatever, or 54, but you look like you're 39 or whatever. It's
Yeah.
it's
Right. Well, and like this idea of aging backward, you've heard that, right? Age
yeah.
backward
Well,
and
yeah.
anti-aging. And it's like, I mean, okay. I think the other two people that I'm thinking about is Pamela Anderson.
Mhm.
She's been going like less makeup. There was a picture and also a video of her just kind of in her more natural state, even though I know she's had plastic surgery, but without all the makeup and the hair done and
Yeah.
whatever. And she's just like, this is just who I am. And
Yeah.
I think we need to see more of that. I think Sarah Jessica Parker, too, there was a picture of her and people were like, oh, she looks old. And I don't know exactly how old she is, but she was like,
Yeah.
because I'm getting
Right.
older. I'm looking
Yeah.
older because I'm older. And that's what happens when people look
Yeah.
older,
Yeah.
like faces change, their hair grays. Sometimes when I was visiting one of my friends this past weekend, and she and I are the same age, and she's had gray hair since high school,
Yeah.
so it's like everybody's going to be different.
Yeah. And this idea that the way we look is for others, like that we have to please this external gaze that we have to, and and that's something I had to fight a lot, this because, and I know I've talked to you about this. I did a workshop with Alyssa that was online, which was great, which I really highly recommend. But we really talked about a lot of these things and and really getting, into getting down to these paradigms that are in our minds that some of which we just want to get rid of.
Mhm.
And I was looking at this of when I decided to let my hair grow gray, which was I think I was about 39 or 38. So I was fighting, grays, especially right here. And my hair was brown and I was dyeing it at home. And then like I dye it and then it almost be like that movie, the Santa Claus movie where he shaves the beard and then it all starts to grow back. Like the grays would just be like, blink, blink, blink. I'm like, okay, well, this is pointless. But then I was like, okay, do I let my hair grow gray? And my mom's hair, she had let her hair grow gray in her 50s and it actually looked fantastic on her. Mine wasn't all white yet. It was very salt and pepper, but my grandmother never dyed her hair. And I was really like, it was this deep thing, like, why do I dye my hair? Like, what is that about? And, why am I doing it all the time? Like I hate it. It's a big pain. I don't like maintenance. I don't curl my hair or blow dry my hair. I'm pretty washed, but so why do I still do this one thing? And it really came down to, for me, the first question was like, am I afraid people will think I'm older? And I was like, no, I'm happy to share my age. I don't really, but it was more this idea of people will think I let myself go, like that I'm not on top of it. And that like was so ingrained and I was
Isn't
kind of like,
that is
whoa,
yeah, that's a term. Like I was thinking that was
she
just
let herself go.
a
Yeah.
Midwestern thing, but I think
Oh, where?
it's a
Yeah.
yes.
Weird. I'm
You-
right
yes. Oh,
here.
they let themselves go. I know. I can hear
Isn't
my
that
dad saying
weird?
that
And then
shit
I
about
had to
women.
really look at it and say, why do I care if someone thinks I've let myself? And it was a real, like, it took me years.
Yes.
I let my hair go gray. I was just like, here we go, here we go. And I had a few moments that were like, ooh, that was kind of a lot. But now I'm just like, oh God, I would never dry my hair. I love not worrying about it and just having my hair and, whatever. And, but,
Yeah.
oh, it
And
was
your hair
such
is
a,
beautiful. I think your
yeah,
hair is so beautiful. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
thank you.
and I think that that's the problem, is that we need to really ask, why am I doing this? Who am
Yeah.
I doing this for? Is
Huge
this
question.
aligned with who I am, and I think, people ask that question a lot to women who get their hair done and do, all these different things beauty wise. And it's like, if no one was here, if no one was looking at you, like if you could secure a sense of non-judgment from other people, like if you knew that people weren't going to be judging you, would you still do all of these things?
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you go, well, I don't know, would I be doing all these things? Like,
Yeah.
have we just been conditioned to perform for the world and
Yeah.
for other people and for men and for, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who are we trying to prove ourselves to? I
Okay.
think a lot of times a huge component is people pleasing. If I get people to
Yes.
like me, if people are okay with me, if I'm not an inconvenience, if people aren't judging me, if people, you know what I mean, that can create
Yes.
this sense of safety in ourselves, this sense of love and belonging and acceptance. But it's like, if I can't show up as myself, then I'm going to constantly have to be playing this part. And that's exhausting. Women are already exhausted. We're already tired.
Yes,
We're
we
already
are.
tired.
Okay,
It's already.
so for those of you who are watching, Marcy has beautiful gray hair, and I color my hair still. And so I just want to say that I like myself with my blonde hair. And my
Yeah.
mom, to the day she died, had blonde hair. And I have a mother who is my idol, who I just love. She wasn't my real mother, but my spiritual mother. She's
Mm,
80 and she still does her hair.
yeah.
And I don't know, I like it.
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah.
me feel amazing. Like it's no
Yeah.
different than going to get a manicure. I don't do that for
Right.
anyone, but I'm sitting
Yeah.
there with my daughter, we're looking at our toes and we're like, doesn't that feel so good? And so
Yeah.
I think it is personal too. I don't want to
Absolutely.
I don't want to put judgment on anyone
Yeah.
either way,
It
because
is
people are
personal.
probably sitting there looking at me going, oh, that poor thing. They're talking about her dyeing her hair.
No,
And
I
no, and the
agree.
difference was I did not like that. I hated
Right.
it. I hate it. Like it for me, it was just like so that was the question. So like, Debbie's real clear that she does it because she loves it. But
Right.
for me, it was just like I wanted to stop. And I was like, why am I not stopping? And then I
Right.
had to really look at that and I was just like, oh shit. Like
Yeah.
it was a big one for me that it was this idea that people would think that about me. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And I agree. And that I'm kind of going back to like the body autonomy. You got to decide what feels good and
yes,
right
Yes.
for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we can start to build trust in ourselves as women and instill
Yeah.
that trust in young girls. Like, what feels good for you? You know, do you
Yes.
do all these things that these other kids are doing? Is that aligned with your values? Is that
Yeah.
fulfilling for you? Does that make you
Yeah.
feel good? You know, does that excite
Yes.
you? You know, and help them to start to realize, like, okay, well, maybe I like to get my nails done, which I'm, yes, always like to get my nails done. But I don't like to get my hair done, you know, like I mean, and I don't have gray hair yet. I know I will get it at some point in my life.
Yeah.
And I've thought about it, you know, will I dye my hair? As of right now, it's a no, because I don't even blow dry my hair. Sometimes I don't even brush my hair. So you know what? So I
Yeah.
feel like, since I'm not really into doing my hair, like, then that would be something that would be
Probably not.
different for me. And dyeing my hair, like, I don't want to go to the salon and sit there for hours. Like, to me, that is not fun. I will
Yeah.
go get my nails done, I'll get a massage, you know, I'll do things like
Mhm.
that. But
Yeah.
again, like, it's very, very personal.
Yeah.
And
I
things.
love what you're saying about the checking in,
Mm,
right? Like, and then so as a whatever woman you are and parenting, if you're checking in and you're being authentic with yourself, then that's what you're modeling for your children, right? Whether your children are 12 or 2 or
Yeah.
whatever, um, you're teaching them how to ask those questions so they can be certain they're not doing it for anyone else but themselves, right? I think that's the key right there,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Being in tune with yourself and what feels good and what you like. And we can always try things on too. You know, we don't have to be like set in stone. You know, we're always going to
Right.
evolve, but, you know, kind of going back to ourselves. Like, and I always say, returning back to you. Who are you? What do you like? What's fulfilling
Yeah.
for you? What feels good for you? You know, and I can obviously give some guidance and suggestions, but at the end of the day, you are the expert in you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know you better than anyone else.
You know, we were talking about the media, and one thing that has been sort of making me feel really good and giving me hope lately has been this new Olympics, this Olympics we're in the middle of right now, and this focus. There's just you could just feel the shift, and so you know the people who are putting it on in Paris are really working to make it clear that body shaming or talking about women and sexualizing women in whatever their uniform is that they're working is not okay, is particularly by the all the talking heads. But also I feel like the athletes are getting featured more and more, and it's not just the ones who meet this standard that we're talking about, but it's all of them. And it's these strong women who are the Philippines just won their first ever medal in
Aw.
weightlifting. And so
Uh-huh.
you see that clip of this woman, she is lifting some weight, and
Yeah.
she's a big woman. She's a big, strong woman, and she's just in her joy. And
Yeah.
that is so uplifting to be able to see that, and all of them out there, women, men, everyone, non-binary people showing up and just being able to be in their sport and it not be all about how
Yeah,
they
Well,
look or
talk about women standing in their power. That women's Olympic team and what those girls went through and what we all were witness to. Let's talk about some women standing in their power,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that takes a lot of courage to come back out after all of what happened in Michigan, right? And the molestation of most of
Oh,
the
the
women's.
gymnastics team, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right.
all
Talk,
standing
Mhm.
together.
talk about courage and standing in your power.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. I think that there is so much power in a group of women that can show
yes,
up as
Yes.
themselves and come together and, you know, just be themselves. You know what I mean? Like, there is so
yeah,
much power in a group of women. Like, and
yes,
I think that that's, you know, I can feel that shift. Like, I'm
yeah,
really glad that I'm living in today
yes,
for some reason.
Yes.
Obviously, there's other things that are going on that we won't talk about, but, you know, I mean, it's been to
Yes. Yes.
hear It's really interesting to see, this shift and being able to say, hey, like I'm here and I have a voice and this is who
Yes.
I am and I'm not ashamed of it and I'm not going to silence myself anymore. And, I'm not going to be spending my entire life chasing my high school body that is unrealistic anyway, because I don't have time for that. And that, you know what
Right.
I mean? Like I'm just going to show up as me. And I think it's so beautiful to see
Yeah.
women standing in their power for sure.
And then, kudos to the men who are allowing women to do that, right? I don't want to be here bashing men for sure, because
No.
my husband is wonderfully supportive however I show up. He doesn't care if I color my hair. He doesn't care if I do my nails. He doesn't care what I'm doing. He just wants me to be
Yeah.
healthy and be here for a long time. So,
Right.
I think as much as we're talking about women, empowering women, there's a whole lot of men out there who have moved into this space of supporting women. I mean, I think we're seeing that in politics now, right? Like men sticking up for women. I think, there's certainly a lot of evil out there, but there are men who are willing to stand with their women, right? However they're showing up. And that, I think that wasn't always the case. I mean, we've come a long way if we just think about that one thing and the way things were for women 70 years ago, right? It was
I
not,
agree. And I think that once we start to allow ourselves to take up space in
Yeah.
this world and almost demand that, not like in a mean way, but just like, hey, I'm here and
Yeah.
I'm I'm worthy of being here. I'm worthy of being included in studies, because
Right.
myself, my body and the way that, we talk about hormones, like might be different than the way men experience things. And that's okay. But just being able to show up in spaces and be seen and be heard and be
Yeah.
validated. It doesn't matter who's validating you, men, women,
Right.
people across the spectrum, across,
yep.
everyone. And I think that people are starting to really listen and understand. And I know, like, same from my husband. I feel like I've talked to him a lot about some of my experiences, and it's really been eye-opening for him, like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, like they don't think about it. And it's not,
Right.
because they don't have to. It's like, I don't think
Exactly.
about certain experiences because I don't have to think about certain experiences.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's until we're able to share our stories and stand in our truth,
Yes.
people are like, okay, this is what's been going on. We're like, yep, that's
Yeah.
what's going on.
And so I think the key for a lot of men now is being willing to hear
Yes.
it, being willing to be open and listen. It comes back to this bear versus man in the woods conversation. Don't just immediately say that that's stupid. Like really think about it and
Yeah.
then hear what people are saying. And I mean, this is important for everyone on the planet. We need to hear each other. We need to give each other space to speak, and then we need to honor what people say about their experience.
Right.
So, whether it's a woman or a man or a non-binary person, a transgender person telling you the experience they're having, you don't have to fully even understand it. You just have to say, hey, that is you said that, I understand it, and I'm going to use your pronoun, or I'm going to not do the thing that has been belittling you or threatening you or making you feel uncomfortable. I'm going to stop cat calls, all of the things that men have maybe traditionally done. And people, might want to say, oh, stop whining, or we always did this way, or it was fine, or women shouldn't be able to vote if they don't have kids, or whatever the weird nonsense of the moment
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
And the
that's next
younger
week.
men coming up are, they're just more ready to hear it, and they're more like, oh yeah, totally makes sense.
Kudos to the mothers who raised those boys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To be open and being willing to
And the
listen
fathers, and
and to be
hopefully,
vulnerable. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yes.
this is like, we've done a huge injustice to men and boys by, and I say we as the collective humanity, but by telling them, don't cry, be tough, all of these bullshit things that are associated with masculinity, and they're not. They're really not about that. They're about this power over paradigm where you can't be human, and you're going to miss out on your life if you're not human, if you can't, you know, love your baby and cry with your children and tell your son you love him and give him a big hug as he goes to call, like all of these things that have traditionally and still in some places been
Mhm.
seen as not masculine,
Right.
which is just a line of crap. It's a
Yeah.
line of crap. People need that. They need to be sensitive. They need to be vulnerable. They need to love, to cry, to feel their emotions. That's
Yeah.
human. It's not,
Yeah.
it's human, and we're all humans, right? So,
Well, and again, going back into that fear of being judged, of being disconnected, of,
mhm,
being outcasted almost. And so we look toward these outer things, these external things to try to fit in. And so it's like, well, if I look good, then people will love me and I'll get attention and that will be great. You know what I mean? Instead
mhm.
of going into that deeper connection of like, cool, you can be pretty and have your hair dyed and like your nails done, whatever, but that's not who you are. That's not the essence of who you
Yeah.
are. That's not what you have to offer the world. And
Yes.
so having
Yes.
more deeper connections when we go beyond the surface level of what people look like or how much people weigh, or I mean, even other factors too, like how much money people make, the house somebody
Yeah.
lives, I mean, all these things that are just so external and at the end of the day don't matter. It's like we're all
Yeah.
human. We're all human. We experience traumas, we experience love, we experience loss, we experience stress. And those are the moments that we can really start to connect to one another.
Yes. I love two things that you've said a few times. One is that idea that we can take up space, that we get to show up and we get to say I'm uncomfortable, or I need something, I need food, I need you to listen to me, I need a space where I feel safe, to take, because that is something traditionally that women have been told, like, don't take up space, don't make a fuss, don't bother anyone, make sure everyone's okay. So yes, we're allowed to take up space. And then the other is what you just said, what you bring to the world is not your bodysuit. It's your gift, your light, your whatever it is for you, and it's different for everyone, but it's not about how you look. It's about what are you bringing? What's lighting you up that you're bringing. So I think that's really important.
I think,
Well, Alyssa, I think we are running out of time, but you inspire me every time we have a
Yeah.
conversation, and I think you're the perfect person to help us with our Women's Equity Month.
Yes, and we have our question of the month too
Oh,
for you.
yes,
So
yes.
as we started this, what Deb was mentioning, these themes for each month, and we chose for August, which is the first month we're doing this, Women's Equity, because Women's Equity Day nationally and voted by Congress back in the 70s is August 26th. So we chose, and it was before the events, the political events, so it's all lining up so perfectly, but we chose Women's Equity for this month. And so we have a question we're asking all our guests, and feel free to at home think about this too. But the question is, what woman is inspiring you right now? And it can be someone it can be someone from your past who maybe is not on the planet anymore, it could be someone in the media or whatever. So Alyssa, what woman is inspiring you right now, and why?
um, I think it's my sister.
Mm,
My sister and I are very, very close, very close. She's 2 years older than me.
yeah.
And I think that we've been through, I mean, obviously similar upbringing and whatnot, but
Mm,
also similar things in life. And I just think that I mean, she's a sister, she's a best friend. She's just one
mm,
of those people that I know I can count on,
mm.
at any day, any time, isn't going to judge me. I can show up exactly as I am. I can show up in a big mess. You know what I mean? Like, I know that like
That's
most of these life events that I've experienced that have been really hard, I can talk to her about, and she's going to meet me with so much love and compassion.
mhm,
Not try to tell me exactly what to do or anything like that. Just give me the space that
perfect.
I need to be myself and work through difficult times. So I
I
think
love
she's
that.
probably one of my biggest inspirations. And she
Um,
is also a midwife. And so she brings
Ooh,
babies into the
cool.
world and also
um,
empowers women with boundaries and, just like to trust their
nice.
bodies and the experience of life. And so we've really gotten to bond, just in our beliefs over the years too.
That
Beautiful.
is awesome. Shout
I
out
was
to your sister.
Yeah,
Yes.
make sure she listens to the podcast. I always
Yeah.
wanted a
For sure.
sister. I think
Yeah.
Marcy's my sister. I call
Yes, I'm feel the same. I'm creating sisters in the world now, and
Yes.
that is wonderful. That is
Beautiful.
wonderful. Oh,
Yeah.
one more thing I want to do, Alyssa, is let you share ways that people can work with you, because you're licensed in Texas, but you work virtually. The group I was in with you had people not only all over the country, but even around the world. We had somebody coming from Korea. So tell people how they can reach out to you if they want to do some of this really good work on their own, accepting, loving, making space for themselves.
Yeah, so my therapy license is in Texas. So if you are wanting to explore like a clinical diagnosis, that's where I would see you, is in my therapy practice. But coaching is really all about empowerment, helping you to find your voice, helping you to feel secure in yourself and your body. I do a lot of intuitive eating work, and really just kind of walk alongside you in this journey. Like I said many times in our podcast today, is just like returning back to you, right? I kind of help to give you the tools to do that for yourself. And we get to explore your values and your likes and what makes you fulfilled and happy in life. And so I do offer both individual and group coaching for all of that.
Okay, and your website, is that the easiest way, or email?
You can message me on my website. The best way to message me is on Instagram. I'm most active on
Oh, okay.
Instagram and Facebook. So my Instagram is Alyssa Booth _LPC. And I think you have my Facebook group.
Yeah, we're going to post all of this. Your website is heyalysabooth.com.
Mhm.
But so it will be posted in the show notes. But yeah, like and follow Alyssa and get some really great little tips and hints for yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank,
Alyssa. Thanks for being here.
yeah,
Of
thank you so
course, it was so
much.
great as always.
Happy Women's Equity Month, everybody.
Here we
Woo!
go.
Yes.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters. So now I encourage you to place your feet flat on the floor. If you happen to be outside, I encourage you to take your shoes off and put your feet into the ground, feeling that grounding energy. If you're inside or somewhere where you don't want to take your shoes off, that's okay too. You can still put your feet flat on the ground and feel into Mother Earth. Receive a deep breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs and your belly. And then release that breath. Today, let's open ourselves up to guidance, to our intuition, to what we are meant to know today. Sit in silence for just a moment and allow any insight, any ideas, any inspiration to just drop in. And when it does, sit with it. Keep yourself from immediately doubting or denying or saying, oh no, that's not for me. If it dropped in, it's meant to be looked at. Take a moment and look at it. Sometimes things will come in later when you open your mind. If something doesn't drop in right now, no worries. Just stay open. Thank you for pausing for yourself today. Your mental health is important, and you deserve peace, calm, and ease in your life every day. So please choose to receive it. It is always available right at your center, your heart, your core. Stay well, friends.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DeMano.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.